that's true. Naked Palpatine.
Oh, you pick that one. Fresh out of the clone tank, nude Palpatine is my
Well, that's the first thing I think of when you say Dark Empire Palpatine.
Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Halo Expand Universe. I need a weapon. And today, I have for you the final book, written by Matt Forbeck. Halo Bad Blood. Basically, Halo ODST 3, kind of. So, this takes place almost immediately after Halo 5. And it is the only Expanded Universe novel that truly deals with the context of Halo 5. While Shadows over Reach, which is a completely separate story, I mean, it's not separate, but the only thing that really has to do with the created conflict is Master Chief's emotional state. Divine Wind follows the Ferret team, which we'll get to. And, like, yeah, the created stuff's happening, but we're just gonna kind of, like, that's in the background, you know? And then we have stuff centered more around Halo Infinite, or around that time frame, which Halo Infinite, as we will get to, just blatantly glosses over a lot of things. I'm just providing this context because this is the only novel that, you know, directly was dealing with the conflict that was kind of the central thing. It was kind of the driving force behind this story. Now, again, I'm conflicted. You heard my views on Halo 5, you heard my thoughts. I was a lot more soft on it this time through. But you have to understand the context of the time that Halo 5 came out. There was significant, huge, absolute amounts of utter disdain for Halo 5's plot, gameplay. Some people really liked it. I've heard that the multiplayer of Halo 5 is really good. But we're talking about story. Most people hated it. Now, I don't know what I would do in that situation. But, as I said, going through it this time, the created was actually, to me, a great concept. How do we bring a galaxy-wide threat that isn't the Flood? What has previous stories already set up with AIs going rampant? So then you offer a chance for AIs to not go rampant, to not have their lives extinguished after 7 years. That created the conflict. Great. Something different from the Flood, something that could pose equally of a problem. Maybe not equally, because the Flood are way worse, but a problem that would be galaxy spanning. Because as we'll get to with Halo Wars 2 and Halo Infinite and, you know, some of the novels, the Banished, for, you know, as nice it is to have basically our new covenant, they can't sustain an entire trilogy. Not even the covenant itself really could have. You would have gotten bored. I mean, the whole reason, like, Halo Reach is perfect because it's just covenant all the way through. But then you get to Halo 1, and it's just covenant, until it becomes the Flood, right? So I kind of like the idea of the created and that whole concept. The issue comes with Cortana. And I've already talked about this to death in the Halo 5 review, so if you haven't seen my review of Halo 5, go back and check it out. But basically I'm saying, like, I'm okay with the concept of the created, I'm okay with them being a threat. I'm conflicted on whether or not it should have been Cortana or not. Clearly it should not have been our Cortana. If it had been a copy of Cortana that just thought it was the original, I would have been okay with that. But we already had the Warden Eternal. Halo 5. Now, we would get introduced to a new person, and you would have the emotional stakes in there. But I think that would have worked better. At the same time, if you really want that emotional beat, then as we learned in Halo Infinite, with a certain character, you can do another Cortana. But even if it's not our Cortana, because she died in Halo 4, you could still have this thing of, well, but Master Chief still has to hear her voice, hear her thoughts. Even if it's not exactly her, still be hurt. But again, there's a lot of conflicting things there. But on principle, I'm okay with this concept. When I say all this, because Master Chief's not in this story, not really. This is, again, he's in it in the very beginning. This is a direct sequel to Halo 5 story. It takes place like almost immediately after. You know, we see a little of Master Chief. He goes and has a conversation with the Arbiter. We don't get to see it because this story is in first person, so we follow Buck all the way through. But, you know, the Arbiter and the Master Chief are seeing each other for the first time in years, and we don't even get to see it. But, you know, they depart. They go back to Infinity. Buck is with the Osiris team as he was in Halo 5, but he's redeployed on a new mission. Because the Created have taken over pretty much everything already. Except for some of Humanity Front, the new insurrection. Because they don't have the up-to-date software, they have the up-to-date things, so Cortana will find them no matter what. But it's just taking a little bit longer. Maybe a day, maybe a month. But she's coming. So, why not get the insurrectionists' help? But they're not going to listen to a bunch of Spartans and Oni. So what must they do? Well, Buck must be reacquainted with Mickey, the one who betrayed him in New Blood. And it's pretty solid. Especially the emotional bits that come between Mickey and Buck. I could hear Nathan Fillion in those lines. Like, it was so real and so good. But then again, it was hard for me to care about the created plot because I know Infinite is just going to ignore it, gloss over it, and move past it. I understand the temptation. People hated your game, you know? So you just okay, well, it's actually been resolved already. Let's move on to this new thing. But you set all this up, and then just have it completely taken care of by the time of Halo Infinite. It causes problems, and then you have this whole thing of, well, let's use interactions. You know, we got other missions to do. But it doesn't matter because I know that none of this will matter. There's no build up to saving the world because it's already saved by Cortana himself. This is the problem with hindsight. You know, with having played Infinite and knowing what happens. Alas, here we are. But that being said, it is a really pretty solid story, probably one of the better Halo stories. Like I said, I've been kind of okay with most of the Halo stories I've read, but this is one of the better ones. If you liked Halo New Blood, if you could get past the big death in New Blood, I think you'll find a lot to love here. It's a lot of fun. I enjoyed it, and I do recommend it. And the emotional bits do hit, I think, when it comes between Mickey and Buck. I think it works. It's amazing. But that's up to for you to decide, ultimately. I'm gonna get into some spoilers if you don't want that. Down to me. I don't have much. Veronica and Buck. What can I say? They just have such a great relationship. It's a lot of fun. And I will say, by the end of the book, now that we're in spoilers, they do finally get married. It's about time. But before, they go after Mickey. They go and find Romeo, who's been doing a mission on the Grunt homeworld when the whole Guardian situation happened. So they go rescue him on the Grunt homeworld. But I just thought it was cool because I don't think we've ever really seen the Grunt homeworld in the literature. So we have the big one. They go to the Spartan 4 training facility from New Blood. And he goes to the cell. There's this whole thing with Leonidas, and he's an AI. Is he corrupted? because Cortana, which he turns out to be. But he has this whole conversation with Mickey. And whenever it's dialogue between them, this book skyrockets up. It's so emotionally compelling, especially if you cared about, if ODST is one of your favorite games in the franchise and you liked New Blood. Man, does it hit hard. It's really good. Oh, and here's another cool thing. Remember Dutch and Gretchen? Well, they tried to live a peaceful life. They really did. But they fought for so many years. It's kind of sad, actually. But they'd spent so many years fighting that. What else do they know? So when June came with his wife, Gretchen, and offered to become a Spartan 4, well, of course Dutch was going to take it so he could be with his wife. So now, all of the ODST team are all Spartans now. And, they make it to the humid front planet, or asteroid, wherever they're at. And they convince them to work with them as the Guardians show up. And, they evacuate as much people as possible, and then they surrender. And then Leonidas just lets the whole team go back to Infinity, okay. And there's a catch-up with, with Spartan Locke and everything, and, but this is officially separation. Now, Buck has left Osiris, and he's back with Alpha 9 as leader. So, but they're all Spartans now. And none of it really matters, because the created conflict is over before it even really started. So, but that's more Infinite's fault than this book's. Like I said, overall it's pretty solid. It's Halo ODST 3. And if you like New Blood, if you get past that one thing, you'll enjoy this. If you don't absolutely despise the Halo 5 plot, you'll probably enjoy this. If you don't like the Halo 5 plot, I still think there's something to enjoy here, but you're going to be constantly annoyed by the reminders that it's related to Halo 5. But that's pretty much it. I'm going to go to bed now. But up next we have Halo Shadows of Reach by Troy Denning. See you then. Let's finish the fight.